This is perfect for the 49ers. A pending free agent wide receiver on an NFC rival is looking like he's going to hit the free agency market. And I've been advocating for the 49ers to bring this guy in for months now. And it's looking like this is just going to be an opportunity that the 49ers cannot pass up on. And we're going to break that all down for you on this episode of Niners Digest. My name is Ethan Galbraith. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure to subscribe to the channel because we've noticed 88% of you haven't done so yet. It's free to subscribe, so make sure you do so you don't miss any Niners updates, because we're going to give you everything we got, including the latest rumor about a potential free agent wide receiver that the Niners can bring in. We've said it multiple times. It's no secret the Niners are going to need to upgrade at the offensive line and the wide receiver positions. We're talking about the wide receiver position today because this has been a big topic of discussion. What are the Niners going to do with their own free agents? What free agents might they bring in? Are they going to use the first round pick on the draft? We're talking about the free agents today, specifically a pending Packers free agent wide receiver that the Niners can bring in, and I've been advocating for months now. So the rumor mill has been doing its thing. The most recently talking about how the Packers are unlikely to retain Romeo Doubs as he will be a coveted wide receiver in free agency. And the Niners, Raiders, and Titans are among teams expected to express interest, and Doubs will likely command a contract of around 12 to 15 million. So there's a lot to unpack there. First of all, let's talk about how the Niners are actually involved in these rumors already. It's a step ahead from just this rumor being a swing for the fences, home run, try everything you got, free agency signing. The Niners are actually rumored to be involved here, and I think this is perfect. When you think about how they stack up versus the Titans and the Raiders, yeah, maybe the Titans and Raiders can offer more money, but the Niners are clearly the best position out of those three teams. And I just think this is a great spot. This is a great signing for the 49ers. I've been talking about this ever since it was pretty much confirmed that Brandon Ayuk wasn't going to be on this team when his voided guarantees were made public in his contract. Ever since then, I've been talking about, well, who can the Niners bring in to replace him? Romeo Doubs is one of those players. Now, let me be clear. Romeo Doubs is not the game breaker, or at least he hasn't been the game breaker that Brandon Ayuk was in his prime in 2023. I don't think that matters, though, if you're talking about bringing in another wide receiver to potentially replace Ayuk at wide receiver 1. He's had an upward trajectory. Let's talk about that first. The numbers don't jump off the screen, but you got to think about the type of offense that the Packers run, as well as the fact that he wasn't really wide receiver 1 consistently for this team. Aside from missing more games in 2024, he's had an upward trajectory every other year. The yards have gone up, aside from 24 when he only played 13 games. But I'm running out of words to think about this, but he just keeps getting better. That's my point. So I'm not saying he's going to be a 1,300-yard wide receiver should he come to the Niners in his first year here, but the Niners don't necessarily need that. And I know that sounds like I'm contradicting myself when I've been saying in the past that there's no wide receiver 1 on this team. But Romeo Doubs can still be the wide receiver 1. This can be a group effort depending on who the Niners bring in at wide receiver. Regardless, we're talking about this specific player and this specific potential contract. It's perfect for the 49ers. It works. It makes too much sense for it to not happen on the Niners, for the Niners to not make it happen. Dan Graziano goes more into this, talking about how the contract projection for Romeo Doubs is 3 years, $49 million with $30 million guaranteed. He adds that the predicted landing spot is the 49ers. I'd give a huge thumbs up to this contract. I'd actually give 2 thumbs up to this contract. I'm giving him right here, because 3 years, $49 million for a non-wide receiver 1 does sound like a lot at first. But again, you got to think about how he's been on an upward trajectory. He has been pretty consistent in terms of production for the Packers. And for a lot of people, Romeo Doubs burst onto the scene most recently in the wild card game versus the Bears, where despite the Packers blowing a lead and losing to the Bears, Romeo Doubs had himself a fantastic game. 8 catches over 100 yards and a touchdown. He did his part. So imagine having that type of production in San Francisco, because it's probably going to transfer over. He had Jordan Love at quarterback, and this isn't a disrespect to Jordan Love, but now he's going to have Brock Purdy potentially at quarterback. And then he's going to have Christian McCaffrey in the backfield potentially. And if he gets healthy, he's going to have Ricky Pearsall alongside with him. So the Niners just have so many dynamic weapons available. Never mind the fact that George Kittle's coming back eventually. Kyle Juszczyk will be there. So the Niners offense is just so dynamic that at their height, at their highest of highs in 2023, what made them so dangerous was they had so many weapons all over the place, you couldn't keep track of all of them. You add Romeo Doubs to this offense, and that's exactly what it becomes again. Now, the wide receiver room can't just have Romeo Doubs added in and then call it a day. I'm not saying that. But what I am saying is adding Romeo Doubs is a step in the right direction, because the Niners have a lot of questions still around their own pending free agents. Here's the wide receiver depth chart. Jauan Jennings is going to be a free agent. Kendrick Bourne, Sky Moore, both free agents. Brandon Ayuk has played his last down in San Francisco. So those are 4 names potentially that won't be on the roster next season. And obviously there's still questions about, are the Niners going to bring Jauan Jennings back? What about Kendrick Bourne or Sky Moore? There's also been questions about if the Niners are going to part ways with Demarcus Robinson. I made a video about that previously. But the Niners, regardless of what happens, the Niners need to bring in new talent. Even if they keep all 3 of those wide receivers, although I doubt that's going to be the case, they need a new wide receiver to rejuvenate this offense. The wide receiver room clearly did not meet expectations because of injuries primarily, but regardless, you need a new wide receiver to come in and just inject new life into this wide receiver room. And especially if Jauan Jennings is gone, if he's going to sign elsewhere in free agency, that's another big gap in this offense, period, and this team. Now, I'm not saying it'd be unfair to have Romeo Doubs come in and expect him to be that identity definer that Jauan Jennings was, that's what I've said, what he does for this team in the past. But if Jauan Jennings is gone, that's all the more reason why you need a wide receiver that's trending upwards to come in and just continue to boost this offense. So Romeo Doubs, while his stats won't jump off the screen and really just wow you, turn on the tape. He's not a deep threat like Alec Pierce, but in this age of defense, deep threats are such a rarity. Alec Pierce, in my opinion, is an anomaly that you don't need that. Think of Amon-Ra St. Brown on the Lions. He's not a deep threat, and yet he's one of the best wide receivers in football because he gets open and he makes important catches. That's what Romeo Doubs can do as well. I go back to this one more time. Here's the list of potential free agents. Again, I've been hyping up Romeo Doubs for months now, and I put him on this list. The Niners, of course, have been rumored in connection to Mike Evans as well, Deebo Samuel. We just made a video about that previously. Romeo Doubs makes the most sense on this list for all the reasons I've just mentioned, but the Niners can pay that contract that Graziano predicts that he's going to be worth. The Niners can easily pay that. On top of the fact that the Niners are the best position for him. If he's not staying with Green Bay, the Niners, out of those rumored teams, the Niners, Raiders, Titans, they're clearly the best option for him. They're in win now mode. And Romeo Doubs helps them win now. So my final thoughts are this. The Niners can't overthink this. This is a great opportunity. That is a very workable contract that the Niners can pay. Or if Graziano is correct in his predictions, the Niners can easily pay that. This is not an overpay. This is, I think, perfect. So don't overthink this. Make it happen. Bring in Romeo Doubs. So that's all we have for this episode of Niners Digest. We'll keep you updated on where he ends up going. Does he stay with Green Bay? Does he hit the open market? Does he come to San Francisco? The new league year is rapidly approaching, so we got a lot to talk about there, as well as other pending wide receiver free agents. But for now, that's all we have for this episode of Niners Digest. My name is Ethan Galbraith. Thank you again so much for watching, and we will see you in the next video.